Hi everyone, my name is Jeffrey and welcome to In the Wake of COVID. Let me introduce you to our curator, Amal.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Yes, this conference, what we're trying to do is essentially reflect on what happened during our seminar, reflect on the discussions we had during the seminar by making a presentation on the theme that we discussed in the wake of COVID, altered contexts and prospects for the arts in Asia. The seminar involved multiple conversations which started last December. I won't introduce the four artists who participated in the seminar because they will shortly introduce themselves. The conversations began with participants talking about their own experiences since the arrival of COVID-19, their setbacks, their challenges, how they've coped with the suddenly altered situation they found themselves in, what they'd learned to do differently, and what they still needed to learn in these unusual times. They then spoke about the new opportunities and impulses that surfaced during the pandemic, which they wanted to preserve. But they also emphasized the tendencies and actions they wanted to resist: the new oppressive laws, increasing government control, self-censorship in the arts, the accent on identity politics, and the shrinking of state support for the arts. The participants also gave thought to what the arts have lost because of COVID, in which they would want to restore: the intimacy between performers and audiences, the chance encounters which spur collaborations in the arts, and the firm sense of location and context, which is so vital for meaningful art making. The artists then turned their gaze inwards to ask, what have we learned about ourselves in these conditions? What do we continue to cherish deeply and which will continue to inform our art practice? Have we embraced new concerns and abandoned some earlier preoccupations? But also turned outwards to pose the same questions to other people in the arts known to them. They sensed they sensed there might be ideas and feelings and initiatives out there which their conversations had not captured. They shared what they had discovered in these field conversations with each other, but they also stimulated each other by sharing relevant news reports, videos, performances, and research on an ongoing basis, and which influenced the kind of discussions we were having. This shared stuff, because it was based on their own experience and knowledge, allowed the group, to an extent, to escape the tyranny of algorithms. Okay, so now the participants will introduce themselves, and then each will present a small project, an individual project, which could loosely be described as their response to some part of what they heard and said and discovered during the last 6 months. As has been said, I request everyone to mute themselves, at least for the presentation, on audio and video, and put on their earphones for a better experience. You may leave questions or comments in the chat box as usual, and we will do our best to get into a discussion with you about them after this presentation. Enjoy it.
The mood is darkening around me. I can see more people getting disheartened the longer this goes on. Well, I've lived through the pandemic for more than 1 year now, but the one thing that COVID has not been able to do is shake my belief in the arts and its power to capture the diversity of thought. My name is Arif Hamizan, and I'm a theatre actor and a director in Kuala Lumpur.
I cherish my role as a facilitator. I like to encourage people to connect with one another. I will protect the spirit of collaboration, whether COVID is here or not. I am a theater artist and cultural worker from Chiang Mai. My name is Nalimon Thamaputsa. You can call me Go.
I'm jealous of the global virus.
It roams all over the world. Well, I'm no longer afraid to go wherever I want to go. But I know in my heart this will be over one day. And I will travel again to learn from feeling and doing using all my senses. That's what I've always done. I'm Regina Ling from Taipei, and I'm a translator, writer, curator with a passion for the craft.
Do your worst, COVID, but don't expect me to stop clearing spaces for people to tell their unheard stories. I'm Jeffrey Tan, a theatre director, drama educator, and creative producer from Singapore. I value and uphold lived experience, and that will not change.
COVID has not been that bad for me. I didn't mind at all for the isolation. Because of the lockdown, I discovered myself, I think, as an introvert. And I'm happy to be on my own. You know, I have so much time on my hands. I have taken so many online courses and learn new skills. I've been making digital collages, videos, and artworks from papers.
Yeah, like Cope, I've been giving more attention to my own growth as well, doing things that matter to me. And like her, I've also opened out to knowledge available on the internet. I found the resources I need for my work online, at least cost this time. So sometimes I really wonder whether I want to go back to that old normal again.
I've actually gone in the opposite direction, from inward to outward. I'm now looking beyond just myself and my personal journey. I'm trying to bring people together. And I've really grown to recognize the need for activism in art, to become more fearless in my work and a lot more political.
Yes, to become fearless, Arif, it's important to have the courage to let go of the comforts of the familiar. I'm no longer afraid to challenge myself, to reach beyond my current imagination, and to take risks and fail.
Have changed in the same way with Jeffrey. I'm more open-minded and flexible now. I am ready to change direction. I don't care so much about owning a project or being in control.
It wasn't so easy for me, Cope, to face my insecurities and give up control. And now I'm ready to surrender to the moment, to work with whoever that I'm receiving from others, to work with whatever I'm receiving from others. You know, I'm embracing the uncertainties of collaboration.
Yeah, and I think for me, entering into collaborations, I found that I'm someone else. Like I'm not me, this performer, which is rooted in a certain practice. And I've also found that there's a lot more empathy and a lot more care. Artists are connecting to each other as people, not just as professionals. But I wonder if we can actually sell these projects to funders that foster a genuine engagement between people, projects that treasure mutual discovery and growth. I wonder.
I too have wondered, and asked, how do we empower ourselves in making work? But I'm also become more concerned about asking, what difference will our work make to spectators? And not because the grant makers are obsessed with the question of impact, but because I don't think artists should be navel gazing in these times.
But this time have given me freedom to turn more inward, and nurture my other talents. Am I being self-indulgent because I am putting myself first? Because I am less engaged with social issues and connecting with other public.
I agree with you, Carl. I find myself drawn to whatever interests me in this moment. Actually, I don't think it's wrong to focus on my own growth now that, I've been released from the constant pressure of meeting deadlines. In fact, I've been turning down projects that just ask me to use my existing skills.
Well, I guess COVID has been positive for each of us in different ways, right? Like I found meaning in projects that don't ask us to bite our tongues. Like especially now that COVID has given the state this pretext to impose restrictions on free expression of opinion. We have to remember that we have the right to our thoughts, to express them without fear and to disagree and all that stuff.
COVID may have moved my life online, but here I found avenues to connect with people I wouldn't otherwise connect with.
But But Jeffrey, I somehow worry that our ways of getting together have become a little bit too like civilized, you know. I miss the spontaneity, the playfulness, you know, the noises of our interactions.
Perhaps you're right, Regina. But the online world has extended my reach, and I'm grateful for that. And my curiosity in other creative professionals, have been awakened. I am understanding how and why they do their work. But the question is, how do we stay curious?
I'm also allowing myself to be led by my curiosity. I have to say I had never had this kind of luxury before because but you know somehow it's also frustrating. I get to see only what is shown to me online now, and my experiences are so incomplete. I cannot touch what I'm looking at. I cannot smell it. I cannot walk around it. My curiosity is aroused, but it's not satisfied.
Yeah, right. I can see so many faces and each one in its own window, right? And how can I tell that what I see is clearly you? You can just show me what you chosen to show me, right? And did you compose the frame to look at for your best today? But did you adjust the light or the background? So I could even like looking at the invented version of yourself. I don't know. Like in these digital meeting rooms, I have become, of course, better listener. But in my viewing is partial. I have become curious and about what I cannot see.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Cobb. Whatever I show you on my screen, you won't know what questions really haunt me. Like, I feel rusty now, like out of practice. Sometimes I ask,
Well,
what has this isolation changed within me? Has the pandemic infected my innermost being, or does the performer in me still exist?
well, Arif, you know, my feeling is that my life has become so immaterial. I feel disembodied. It alarms me. And I met new friends on the internet, but I've never met them for a cup of coffee. And if I reach out to you, see, like this,
Yes. My finger only touched the coldness of the computer screen.
It helps to go for walks, everyone. That's what I've been doing. Not to get anywhere, just to get out. Yeah, it keeps me curious. I've explored what I barely noticed before. I'm experiencing my city with fresh eyes. It's getting stuffy in here, right? I need to go for some fresh air. I'm off for my walk. Cope, Regina, would you like to join me?
yeah, let's go.
Can I join?
Yeah, come.
Go.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to present our first project. Thank you, COVID. Letters of the year gone by and time to come. How do you cope with crisis? Over the last 6 months, we've been having curated conversations about the COVID situation in our country and how it has affected us and how it has changed our work in the arts. Other than sharing, we decided to create mini projects as our individual response to the situation. If you were to write a letter to COVID, what will you say? Here are the 6 letters that I wrote while being stuck in Singapore. Thank you, COVID. Enough is enough. You must stop your atrocious behavior now. It is not funny to have so many people die every minute. What else do you want from us? You wanted us to stop our fast-paced life? We did. You wanted the wild plants to grow? They did. You wanted our migrant workers to be treated more justly? We tried. What else do you want from us? I'm under house arrest, stuck at home, staring at 4 walls. What did I do to deserve this? I had enough of this uncertainty. My theatre shows have been postponed. My in-person teaching workshops have been cancelled. I cannot write my own future. You made me spend long hours staring at the computer screen, struggling to learn the new online language. Do you know what makes theatre special? Actors and spectators in the same space, at the same time, breathing the same air. Now our theatres are closed again. How will I survive? But do you care, COVID? As you go about treating the whole world as your stage, and you assume total power over life and death, playing God, your favorite role. You don't care, COVID. You just want things your way. Who do you think you are? What did we do to deserve you? What is your purpose? Who sent you here and why? I know you won't tell us. You won't give us answers. Thank you, COVID, for wearing a mask. Thank you for the frustration, the depression, the fear of the unknown. Surely you've created enough havoc. Surely you've done your worst. Surely you have had your fill of taking our lives. Absolutely and completely. But perhaps you can leave us now. You're not welcome here. Thank you and don't come back again. Please don't. In despair, from an arts worker in Singapore.
Thank you, Mr. Miss COVID. We are writing to inform you that your application for the position of the Minister of Health at the WHO has been unsuccessful. We appreciate your passion to make a difference to our community of Earthlings and to remind global citizens to keep their distance from each other, to feel hopeless about the future, and to take pleasure in their own company. Your recent shape-shifting actions, however, have aptly demonstrated that you are confused about your identity and lack self-control. To qualify for the position for which you have applied, it is not enough to be powerful, influential, and decisive, qualities you have demonstrated in ample measure. You need to show love, care, and respect for your global victims. Your indiscriminate killings across international borders have certainly established your credentials as a champion of equality, as you pointed out in your application. But instead of being appointed as the Minister of Health, you can expect to face charges as a mass murderer. However, you might also want to consider applying for the vacant position of janitor at the WHO and help us clean up the mess you have created. Sincerely, on behalf of a WHO.
The third letter comes from someone who is in love. Thank you, COVID. I cannot thank you enough because it's now official. I can finally work from home. None of the hell of the morning traffic. No more fighting for a seat at the bus. No more traveling in the trains packed like sardines. Thank you, COVID. The money that I've saved because I cannot eat out. The weight I've lost because I can regularly exercise. And all because of the time that I've saved. Now I can do my housework while I'm doing my office work. Thank you, COVID. I finally have a work-life balance that the government have been advocating. I love it. And these are not the only perks. I can sleep late after watching the entire series of K-dramas. I can wake up just in time for my 9 a.m. meetings. Thank you, COVID. I can lounge in my pajamas the entire day, except when the controlling boss insists that we show our faces on camera because blank screens are bad for the team spirit. Thank you, COVID. I can sleep through webinars because I know I can watch the recordings later. I love you, COVID. You have cleared public spaces and I can go for my walks any time of the day. Please stay here as long as you like. I love this new norm. Thank you, COVID. Thank you, COVID. Madly love the new COVID convert.
I hate you, COVID. It's so boring to play at home all alone. No going out, no seeing friends except on screen. I hate you, COVID. It's so boring to learn at home. I hate these online classes. I cannot talk when my teacher is talking. I hate you, COVID. My parents are so boring, always working. I hope their Zoom will zoom them to outer space. Then I can run and scream as much as I want. Ah! I hate you, COVID. My grandma is very lonely since Akong passed away. And now, I cannot even go and see her. I miss my Amma. I hope Amma doesn't fall sick now. There are no beds in hospital for her. I hate you, COVID. The television and radios are all so boring, only talking about you. My cartoons are stopped because they want to give some big news about you. Again. I hate you, COVID. Thank you, COVID. It's not working out between us. I've chased after you. I've tried to charm you, hoping that you will learn to love me. If nothing else, we could have become pen pals, but you never bothered to write back to me. Maybe a modern day virus finds letters old-fashioned. So I tried to reach you on WhatsApp, Telegram, Facebook, Instagram. No luck. Don't you use social media? I am sick of getting no response from you. A relationship can't be one-sided. Therefore, I'm unfriending you. Being powerful and famous is not everything. The higher you rise, the harder you fall. And I can't wait for that day. Thank you for nothing, COVID. I have no fond memories of you since we were never together. But neither do people whose lives you entered. With no regrets, it doesn't really matter who I am anyway. I hope you are happy.
Thank you, COVID. This is my final letter to you. Through the time that you've been with us, you've questioned policies. You showed up the gaps in our society. You made me confront my own fears and cope with the unknown future. No one saw your real intentions. No one listened to what you were telling us. I am sorry. No one thanked you for the innovations you inspired. No one thanked you for the business you generated. No one saw the goodness in your heart. Thank you, COVID. I was angry and depressed when you first arrived. But now, I'm grateful for the gifts that you've brought for me. The life lessons I don't want to forget. Thank you for the COVID, for the first gift of time. Time is precious, and I'm always running out of it, running here, running there, from one meeting to another. But once you arrive, my projects were shut down. And suddenly, I had all the time in the world. I could do the things that I've always wanted to do, sort out the piles of notes that I've been hoarding throughout the moldy cassette tapes. I had time to exercise in the morning. I had time to cook my own meals. I had time to reorganize my life. I had time to take stock of what I really valued and what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Thank you, COVID, for time. Thank you for the second gift of curiosity. We do not have time to be curious when we are busy making a living, running like the rat race. Rats don't question. They just try to survive by running faster than other rats. But now, I had the time to let my curiosity roam free, even to places outside of Singapore, to ask what people are thinking and doing, how differently they are responding to a situation the same as mine. I looked out to look in. I reached out to find within the similarities, the differences. I discovered what I had to offer and what I could receive, when to talk and when to stay quiet. Thank you, COVID, for curiosity. Thank you for the third gift of fearlessness. You came, COVID, and snatched away my controlling self, loosened my grip on my measured life. I stopped worrying about outcomes. I took pleasure in the process. I stopped feeling defeated by the thought of rejection. I became fearless. Fearless to risk putting what I knew under a scanner. Fearless to appear foolish and lost, exploring what I didn't know. Walking down a path I've never taken. I became fearless, not afraid to risk, not afraid to ask, not afraid to fail. Thank you, COVID, for fearlessness. Thank you, COVID, for the fourth gift of connections. Until I was stuck at home, I never thought of reaching out. Now I connect with friends in Singapore and I reconnect with friends from overseas. Sitting here at my computer, I've entered new collaborations, begun new projects, made new friends, connecting me to a limitless world where I've shared and learned and imagined and created and laughed and entertained like never before. Thank you, COVID, for the connections. Thank you for the fifth gift of caring. I've learned how to show that I care by making a phone call, by leaving a message, by offering a sympathetic ear, by lending a helping hand. I can give lots of time to others and still have time for myself, all because of you. Thank you, COVID, for the gifts we failed to acknowledge, for the lessons you wanted us to learn. Thank you, COVID. With gratitude, Jeffrey Tan, Singapore, May 2021.
Seeing is not believing explores how people create an image of themselves for online consumption. Sometimes this image tells us about their self-image. Sometimes it tells us about the impression they wish to make on others. And sometimes people can lose control of the image they want to project in their digital window.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
Hello everyone สวัสดีค่ะวันนี้พบกันอีกแล้วนะคะกับ Beauty วันนี้เราจะมารีวิวซีรั่มใหม่นะคะชื่อว่า Up by Rachel and Williams from America ซีรั่มนี้นะคะเป็น SkinCeutical Hyaluronic Acid Intensifier Boosting Serum เดี๋ยวนะทำไมมืดอุ้ยลืมเดี๋ยวเปิดยังไงเนี่ยไฟลืมไฟติดแล้ว แสงสว่างไหมจ๊ะโอเคเอาไหมโอเคดีเอาไหมHello everyone สวัสดีค่ะวันนี้เราจะมารีวิวซีรั่มใหม่กันนะคะชื่อว่า Rachel and Williams นะคะซีรั่มนี้มาจากอเมริกาหลานชายดิฉันเป็นคนทำเองนะคะเธอเรียนที่ University of Washington Seattle เดี๋ยวแบ็คกราวด์ทำไมมันมืดเอามาขยับได้ไหม อ๋อทำไมมันมืดหรออ๋อแสงมันก็มาดีนะไม่ใช่เหรอโอเคเดี๋ยวไปหาแบ็คกราวด์ใหม่ดีกว่าตรงนี้มันมืดไปนิดนึงเอานี่ไปด้วยไปกันไหนเนี่ยตรงนี้ดีเอาอันนี้ดีค่ะแบ็คกราวด์สีฟ้าเอานิดปึ๊บโอเคดูดีแสงตรงนี้ก็โอเคงั้นใช้แสงธรรมชาติแล้วกันแบ็คกราวด์นี้เอาเปลี่ยนเสื้อเป็นสีนี้สดเอาตัวนี้ดีกว่าตัวนี้ดีกว่าได้เอาเดี๋ยวไปโอเคเอาแล้วนะ3 2สวัสดีค่ะ Hello everyone พบกันอีกแล้วนะคะกับ Beauty วันนี้นะคะเดี๋ยวนะว้ายหน้าสดอะเติมหน่อยนะทำไมมันเหงื่อออกเร็วมากเลยอะเติมปากหน่อยเนี่ยโอเคดีขึ้นเอาใหม่นะจ๊ะโอเคเริ่มใหม่นะ3 2 Hello everyone พบกันอีกแล้วนะคะกับ Beauty วันนี้นะคะเราจะมารีวิวซีรั่มอันนี้นะคะชื่อว่า Rachel and Williams จากอเมริกาอันนี้นะคะที่ฉันใช้เองเลยนะรับรองเลยนะคะว่าดีมากๆดูนะคะตีนกานะหายไปเกือบหมดเลยอะแล้วดูกระสีลดลงตั้งแบบ 50% เห็นไหมฮะดีมากเลยใช่ไหมเดี๋ยวนะทำไมมันมืดลงแล้วอะตายแล้วมันมืดอย่างนี้ก็ต้องจัดแสงใหม่สิโอ้ยเดี๋ยวมันไม่สม่ำเสมอทำไงดี6 โมงเหนื่อยแล้วด้วยแนวแล้วเดี๋ยวค่อยมาทำใหม่แล้วกันถ่ายพรุ่งนี้ตั้งแต่ต้นเลย1
2 3 let's go
As 2021 kicked in and as I'm continuing my master's research and having my work exhibited, it really felt like the year hasn't ended, especially when we are all distracted by the emergency that was announced and also the following MCO that's coming soon. And because you are already in a rhythm of work that you planned, as an artist, public holidays also sometimes don't feel like there's public holidays, so it's only heightened to not feel like it's a new year, It really feels like a prolonged year, a year that's still in process, you know. What is it to count luck? Also felt like, or what is it to celebrate being in the same spot the following as time goes by, you know. But also indicated that there's still work that needs to be done lah. Yeah. So
doing my masters was a part of my grand like desire to find purpose in my life, not just in terms of ambition, but also like how do I regiment my life? Like, am I a 9-to-5 person? Am I the kind of person who just likes to work with deadlines but can decide to work at any time I want kind of person? And being in lockdown made me realize how my sense of discipline can very easily unravel. Like, I'm not that kind of person. Like I have the ability to accept responsibilities, but I'm not the kind of person who can just show up every day. And it took a lot from me to always do that, you know. So a point to this is like when we started having Zoom classes. So like there were optional Zoom classes. Nobody had to attend anything, because again the university was on strike, right? So a lot of the classes we were doing were considered like illegal in the context of the student movements, because, you know, if you went to classes during a strike, even if it's online, it's still considered like they call it being a scab, you know what I mean? Because you were not complying to the protest, which is like restricting the teaching staff's ability to teach until they got paid well. You know, that's how strikes were supposed to work, right? But if you kept teaching, then you're just exploiting your teacher, etc. But anyway, back to purpose.
Being lazy is not that bad. Listening to your behaviors will allow you to kind of figure out your harmony, I guess. Because you don't have to be, you know, discredited in office to tell that you work badly. I think you can tell it yourself. And being self-reliant, everybody's mini little government is something that's going to be the new norm.
What have you discovered about your strengths and weaknesses?
I don't know whether it's weakness. It's literally just like if I step out. So like I would take out the trash and wear like everything, the most protective gear, just to take out the trash if there was not too far away, because I was worried. It was as if the virus was like a meteor, you know, that if it hit me, there would be no time for gestation. I would just immediately die, you know. And there was even a point in my life. So this is gonna escalate. So from having my discipline unravel, I also realized how ready I was to die. You know, because in a more like exaggerated, dramatic fashion, like my bedroom was already a coffin to me. Like I was like calculating the things I had and the things I was gonna achieve, and how it didn't really matter as much, but the things I had did, and now would be a nice time to just.
Did you learn anything new about the way you worked, or perhaps any changes that happened to how you make work during that time?
I definitely feel more vulnerable somehow in the way that I express myself creatively, because that was how I learned how to cope during the pandemic. So macam previously, I think I did not create a lot of artworks because I wasn't really vulnerable and I wasn't comfortable with letting people know my story to my art. But then like during the pandemic, it just kind of hit me like
I actually need people. Because, you know, at the first month I was excited, happy. As an introvert, I don't have to see people. But then later it dawned on me how human relationship is more than just having company. it's a lot to do with give and take and like push and pull. I don't know if this language is making sense, but how like one person as you can't do anything alone. That's what I learned the most, the biggest lesson, that having people around really helps for you to push yourself to be better, or to just live, to just continue living and breathing. Yeah, the importance of having people around you. That was a big lesson.
You know, I have so much, I feel so much, and it's overwhelming. So much, so why not? Why do I have to like hold myself back? And basically, it was just driving me crazy, not being able to express genuinely. So I think the pressure that came with COVID kind of like pushed me and molded me to be more vulnerable and be more confident in putting it out there. And the fact that everyone else was kind of vulnerable too kind of helps with the space, with the air. So like I feel like it's okay to also be vulnerable with people.
Do you think this is a result of the pandemic? Or connected in some way?
It's definitely connected, because that's why we are all shifting to virtual shows. But I think we had, at least today, I'm sorry for being specific, but today, one of our virtual shows, we actually talked about what it meant to be shifting medium and how do we address it as artists and how do we go about it. So I guess that part makes me feel like an artist. When we have questions to ask and when we have questions or problems to solve, that's when I feel like an artist. But when I'm just like acting and just following blocking, I don't feel like an artist there. So as an artist right now, I think we're all just trying to figure out what to do with ourselves and with our medium and with our craft, and how do we apply it to still make it relevant somehow.
Yes, definitely. Because in the pandemic, I'm like super dwelling in my emotions. And yeah, I kind of, because previously I kind of wanted to be, I kind of want my persona in art to be like this cool, emotionless, just very like cool on the surface kind of thing. But now I'm like, I can't do that, because I'm actually very emotional, and that's how I work, and that's how I am. So yeah, I think I kind of found my voice in my art, which is vulnerability.
I love dancing and all its forms since I was little. I have been trained in different dance forms: ballet, hip-hop, tango, and jazz. Though there are a few forms I have tough time doing, yet I keep trying. I strongly believe that taking up a career that I love is best as it works as a motivation by itself.
As a dance teacher, the most apparent skill is that the ability to provide education form that which everyone can do. On learning techniques and tactics, I want the student to come up with their own dancing styles. I will encourage them to improvise so I can bring out their creative best. I have ideas to motivate my students, and I am also very patient. I will bring in diversification while teaching so that the student would understand better. Another career? Apart from the obvious of becoming dance teacher, choreographer, and rehearsal director, I am extremely keen on dance photograph. I recently took a few shots of the previous performance. Would you like to see?
ลูกโกดกินข้าว
ค่ะ That's something needed to be concerned during online interviewing. Okay. Anyway, should I show them the photos? The one that I took from the last performance? No need? I don't have to show them my share screen as well? Yeah, right. I know. I have already sent them resume and demo videos, but I want them to see those photos while I am talking. What? What else? Oh, yeah, right. Why did I want to join dance theater studio? Right, that's good question. They offer a great pay. No. I want to challenge myself, and I want to change from classical ballet to contemporary dance and to explore new things. Teaching online for New York school is very challenging, and I want to try that. Is that good? Good. Yeah. Okay, I shall do that. And my biggest achievement until now? Oh, right. Here. Look at this. I was recently asked to give choreography support to the Hollywood director. This is my great chance and prize achievements that I can account as the most remarkable moment. Too much? Okay, I should be more humble. How about these glasses? Let's try a new one. And maybe this one look like a teacher? More polite. This one. More colorful. Nice, huh? I like. I also have this. How do I look? Too serious. Okay. Anyway, let's stick with this one. I like this one better. It's framed my face very well. Make it look light. No? Okay. What about the brows? Is it present my best self and reveal that I am creative, energetic, flexible, and reliable? Of course, this is my most appropriate business casual wear. And I want to express my personality and personal style. Oh, yes, right. I should have a cup of tea, right? It will set the calm and peaceful atmosphere. Okay, 1 minute. Here. Okay. This one look classy, but inside very funny, you see? Or this one with the copper for the healthy people. Or this one, sustainable, reusable coffee cup. This one? Yeah, I think so, huh? And I should drink during interview, right? Good idea. How about next possible question? What? Oh, my fitness and strength. Okay, good idea. Okay. My great received idea for maintaining fitness and strength. I prepare my own meals at home, so I know what I put into them, and I eat healthy, live happily, That's my motto. No alcohol, of course. And I drink a lot of water. Sound good? All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for helping me. And let's cross a finger for tomorrow interview. Yeah? Now, let's celebrate! Yay! Cheers! Yeah! Bye-bye!
Hi, everyone. I'm Regina Lee, and I'm the curator of Behind the Masks. Thank you for joining today's virtual exhibition walk. 1,000 years ago, some events at global scale triggered a series of chain reactions. Among them is the emergence of many types of facial coverings around the world. We have recovered a large number of facial coverings from the oceans and from archaeological excavations. Some can be seen in museum archives and family collections. Radiocarbon dating has shown that all of them were created in the early decades of the 21st century. Look at the pattern on this embroidered mask and this painted pepper mask. Like so many other similar works from the same period that we see in the collection, they deliberately chose to feature the world map. The right one is Native American in origin, and the left one was created with an ancient Eastern paper art that is completely lost today. Unfortunately, I believe it was called origami at the time. Collectively, they seem to leave a message to us that the impact of this mysterious event was indeed global. In this exhibition, by masks, we mean a piece of physical material on the face, apparently intended to cover the mouth and nose. Many of them have similar forms, and according to Maritime Archaeological Survey, their numbers are probably more than jellyfish in the ocean. However, some are only found in 1 or 2 specific locations worldwide and look rather peculiar. As you will see, astonishingly, they are varied in terms of design and the materials used, just like the items I'm going to show you in this exhibition. And most interestingly, their purpose is still not quite clear to us today. You certainly will find this work quite strange and unusual, don't you? It looks like a gas mask, but it is made from the bark of birch trees. The birch bark craft is special to many Aboriginal nations that once lived in the cold American North. The covering itself seems to suggest that it was used as a protection, though we haven't figured out the magical properties of this kind of bark that could protect people from the evil of the time. And what evil? Let's see if we can make any guess about its nature. So now in this exhibition, we have selected and chosen to see some of these curious pieces. Perhaps they will individually and collectively reveal something about those turbulent years in the 21st century. I do believe that an object is a carrier of information. With craft objects like so many masks in this exhibition, we can ask, who made this and for what reason? What did they stand for? Why were so many made in the same period? And why are they so alike and different at the same time? Now, where shall we begin? First of all, I would like to invite all of you to listen to the song from an eastern region of the Indian subcontinent. This region was swallowed up by the sea due to global warming. This tragic event took place nearly 1 century after the song was recorded.
বিশ্ব জুড়ে শোকের ছায়া প্রতি ঘরে ঘরে কারো বাবা কাঁদে মাও কাঁদে বিদেশে আছে কারো ছেলে ঠাকুমারা কেঁদে বলে কেমন করে বাঁচি রে।
The lady sings, "My heart is breaking. How will I express my feelings? The whole world is filled with sorrow everywhere. And look at this beautiful painting that she created. And see, it shows us that in the early 21st century, the world was attacked by a huge flying monster with a gaping mouth and muscular blue arms. The many spikes on its face suggest that we may be looking at another form of Godzilla. The lady is singing about the grief and sorrow of losing loved ones to this attacker, and also about how to put up a fight against it. Also notice that the facial coverings in this precious scroll. What could be the connection between the masks and the threat posed by the monster? Can the masks keep away the monster? How? We don't have the answer yet. But maybe, as the available evidence suggests, it might be true that this mask helped in the fight against the monster. Then, it is not surprising to me that people kept them on even when they were kissing their lovers, right? Lovers, yeah. Well, I know some history scholars and relationship cultures are still having dispute over the true nature of the below image. Some argue for a celebration of old age same-sex relationship, which we know was still quite a taboo in the early 21st century. However, another stronger argument points to a story filled with hatred and violence, not mutual affection. It seems to suggest that we have been more cruel to each other across our long shameful history than any monsters could ever be. So let me show you this image. It is one among a huge number of images that we have dug up from the old servers of now abandoned ancient social media platforms, such as Facebook and Twitter. Most of them give us a clear idea of how people opposed and confronted the violent oppression inflicted by their own people. But see, everyone is still wearing facial coverings. This indicates not only that the monster was still around when they were fighting oppressions, but also that no one believed they would be immune to the threat of the monster. But make no mistake, this monster was not totally evil. It certainly made life difficult for our ancestors. For example, it made people scramble for masks in endless lines and national flights. However, it also gave us something in return. Come, take a closer look at this fabulous woven textile from Ifugao. Today, Ifugao is the capital of the Philippines, which lost the most islands to the rising ocean. Fortunately, an oral legend from the Ifugao ancestors has survived in the World Museum of Folklore. It tells us that Ifugao weaving tradition actually was dying out in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, and the arrival of the monster turned over a new page. See these masks that were made with woven textiles from Ifugao. The demand for them was so great that a weaving tradition has survived to this day. Isn't that wonderful? Though peculiar, Ifugao is not the only case we found around the world. On the other side of the Pacific Ocean, in the once glorious empire of the United States, and also in the upland of Mexico, people were found to weave their own mask using local fiber materials, such as yellow cedar bark or palm leaves. Now I must confess that my favorite section of this exhibition is actually the next one. When the most common weapon to fight the monster was used to make a political statement. This was definitely another gift that the monster gave us. We know from the history books that women in the 21st century were often victims of many forms of abuses and violence, both domestically and socially. Their oppression was further compounded by the disruption created by the monster's attack. So now, let's see two examples of how women of the time used masks as weapons to fight not only against the monster, but also against their own oppression. The first example has been sourced from the Royal Ontario Museum of Canada. This piece, created by a young female artist, triggered a widespread movement at the time to raise awareness for missing and murdered Indigenous women. This piece inspired hundreds and thousands of people to make similar masks, to join the protest, and became the change the world needed. And our second example is a set of creative pieces from the prison collection of the Philippines. They are called the Tuspa of Village, meaning the mask of the vagina. These village masks were hand embroidered by women inside the prisons of Iloilo City when the country was badly attacked by the monster. Unlike common masks, they represented women's vaginas in different situations. Take a look at the middle piece. The vagina of radiating colors with half of the sun on your left side and the gloomy prison bars with the monster on the right side. One descendant of the jailed women said, the story of the mask represents their dream for freedom beyond the prison walls, so they can be whole again. And now we have come to the last section of this exhibition. Perhaps not the most impressive or the most beautiful in this exhibition, but it shows how people cope with many restrictions that a monster attack imposed on human life. This is the only record of the pioneering invention of the 21st century. Because of the threat the monster posed, many theaters were shut down. But the costume workshop of the New York University kept experimenting with new materials and different ways of constructing facial masks that could meet the actors' extreme breathing demands while performing. And guess what? As the air pollution has worsened in the past 1,000 years to a level that we can't go out with a mask now, we really have to thank them for starting this experiment to look for better breathing and personalize the mask. That was the prototype of what we are wearing today. At last, you probably will be surprised to see how the mask spurred innovations that had nothing to do with the need to cover the face. According to the founder of the mask Lego company, Mr. Tatsuya Tanaka, while the monster was prowling the earth, he had a lot of leisure time to invent this prototype of mask Lego game. I hope you enjoyed today's virtual walk of the Behind the Mask exhibition. Do let me know if you have any questions or if there's anything you would like to know more about. Thank you.
Thank you, Regina. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us. We encourage you to turn on your cameras to dialogue with us. Arif, my teammate, is now going to moderate this session. Arif.
Yes, thanks, Jeffrey. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for staying with us throughout the entire session. I've checked through the comments. There haven't been any questions, but we really appreciate all the comments that we've had throughout today. While perhaps we're waiting for any questions that any of you might have, I might just start it off again. Maybe I'll ask some of my teammates, since this is probably the last, say, formal time we'll be meeting when it comes to the Mekong conference. What is something from our discussions over the past 6 months that what do you think is the biggest thing that you've taken away from it? Yeah, from all our discussions. Yeah, any of you, Jeffrey, Cope, Regina, even Anmol. Yeah.
Okay, I can go. Yeah. I found that the whole 5 to 6 months is very fruitful for me. So it get me to see the world in the new light and rethinking about the impact of COVID for my life and the other people, and see it in more positive way, and discover new things and present like things out of my own box, out of my own fear. I like to thank Anil for help facilitate with us and pull us pull the best of us to present. Yeah, I never thought that I will use video as media, and we have been discussed about being theater artists, and if we change the medium into video, it is still called theater. I think it's very interesting to discuss some more. Basically I discover many things and step out of my own line, my own fear. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ko. Jeffrey, Regina.
Regina, do you want to go first?
Okay. Yeah. Actually, I think I totally agree with Ko. I think for me, the most precious part actually is the process. We had like something like how many? 13, 14 meetings in like a past 6 months. Yeah. And I still remember, like yesterday when I was sharing with my friends after the first session, I still remember, Jeffrey, you were complaining about that you were a low-tech person at the very beginning, and now you are totally playing with everything, with Zoom, and you become the Zoom geek in our team. And I was like, oh, how come that happened? Like in 6 months' time. Everyone has such a, big potential, even under a difficult situation. Yeah. And so I think the most important turning point in the entire process that really struck me is when we talk about is there something I don't want to let it go after the pandemic ends, and so that is something we start to rethink the process we've been through and what we actually learned and experienced from all this, mass, but there's something there. And we try to present a little bit of what we learned in today's session. But I think that actually there's a lot more in that process that we learned. I truly feel we are the lucky four in this group, Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Regina.
Yeah. Just to add on to Regina, I think what I appreciated most of this relationship that we have created is over this sustained time, we all confronted ourselves and we all confronted the situation in a personal, political, social, creative way. And I think that time that we took to talk, to listen, to reflect, is something that, it's a luxury, right? We forget that it's a luxury that we've made time, or Mekong Cultural Hub has created this wonderful program of curated conversations for us to confront ourselves, to confront our practice, to confront the situation, right? And more importantly, reflect on what is it doing for us, right? And then to do the mini projects was another big challenge, right? What do we do? How do we capture all these learnings and reflections and different perspectives? So I thought that was, it's the best of. It wasn't something that I expected when I signed up. I thought, we're just gonna talk, and then we'll just do a PowerPoint reflection, right? And then we have to do a project. So, but no, I appreciated it because I think that is what it's about, right? That we made something creative with what we were experiencing, and I think that's something that was a bonus, doing this project for me.
Yeah, I think if I could just add it, the fact that we had to have these discussions over 6 months in a period of just constant change and fluidity kind of really helped myself personally to have some sort of constant in terms of where I was in art making, because there's always somebody to share something with, especially in all of our different contexts. And I think also that hopefulness of just keeping on, to keep on going, because I think we met 14 times, but I'll be honest, there were definitely a couple of times where I was just like, do we have to do it today? But we did, and it was always great every single time. And so that I'm really grateful for, and I hope that it reflected for at least the people who attended today how I think diverse our experiences were of the pandemic and the different types of people we were interacting with also. Some of us were much more alone than others, but I think through it all, we really did manage to I don't know, reflect, I guess, if that's anything. Yeah. I would like to invite any of the audience.
I'd like to say something, Arif. When one thing I was nervous about before we started was, oh my God, this is a very grim topic, okay? And what's going to happen, when we start talking? Are we just going to, go under just because the situation seems so bad? And I was surprised how much we actually laughed during our conversations. And we were not laughing at the situation, but we were just seeing the absurdities also of what we were surrounded with. And that was quite delightful. We're laughing even now. And I think that sense of also not taking the situation too seriously while taking it seriously and taking responsibility was reflected in many of the projects that were presented. Yeah, because there was a certain, as I said yesterday, there was a certain irony in a lot of the works that were presented, projects that were presented, which suggested that, yeah, we're talking seriously about the situation, but we're able to see, the ironic side of it as well. As one famous theater playwright, I think, said that, life is so horrible, you can only laugh at it.
Thank you, Anmol. Is there there haven't been any questions, but I would like to invite any audience member. Would you like to say something, perhaps in relation to? Okay, here we go. From Wong Ji Sheng. Hopefully I pronounced that. I'm so sorry. Can each of you share a bit of the inspiration of your presentation, the process of give and take within all the inputs and reflections? Definitely, yes, we'd love to. Would anyone like to start?
Arif.
Okay. Okay, sure, I will. So where I'm based in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, when we first started our discussions, that was about 6 months ago. I think things were bad, but they weren't terrible. They were getting worse, but they weren't mind-numbingly bad. So by the time Meeting Points was supposed to take place, I had in my picture like this idea of being able to walk outside freely and meeting friends, or even going to the theater already. That didn't happen. It's gotten far, far, far worse, and it's continuing to get worse, unfortunately. And I think there was one session after Anmol suggested we do these presentations where it had to it had to revolve around some question which we had asked during our sessions. And for me, I chose what did you learn from the experience of the pandemic? And I wanted to at first ask just artists I knew around Kuala Lumpur whether or not I had interacted with them. But I realized that the pandemic for me was really the people that I had spent time with. And to be able to track how these people had changed would also give me some insight to how my world had changed, rather than just approaching all these artists that I knew. So it was in a way trying to just document where they were and where we were in relation to each other over the past year and a half. I went in without really any intention or like real clear idea of what I wanted to get from them. I had a few questions, but it was just kind of an open-ended question and answer interview. And I think I've gotten about 6 hours worth of material, which we were pouring through and trying to find the best way to present for this format, because there was just so much richness. And I think also one of the things which I found was, even amongst the people that I knew based in Kuala Lumpur, who some of them only live a few kilometers away from me, our experiences of the pandemic were so different. And what we found important and what we found challenging was so different. So it kind of really awoke this idea as well that I would like to continue this sort of documentation of the pandemic, because if this just happens with, say, 4 people, then imagine in this room alone, you know. And I think that's what we've also found from the curated conference as a whole. Yeah, that's it for me. Thanks. Jeffrey?
I think for me, it's really, I mean, my inspiration came from, you know, how people were documenting their experience, you know, as we were talking, and then on Facebook, you know, and how different people were capturing their experience or making sense of their experience. And so, to be honest, I didn't know what I was going to do initially when given the idea, you know, the challenge of the project. I think I came up with something really cheeky, and, you know, I wanted to interact with the audience, and, you know, it was doing too much. And then when I really pulled back and asked myself, you know, what lessons do you not want to forget? I think that's when I got a bit more serious with myself and you know, trying to capture what the different perspectives that different people within the team were sharing. Sometimes, you know, could be a news report, and then while talking, I saw another perspective that I didn't think of. I saw another angle that you know, I didn't see. And so I think that's one of the biggest things that you know, the interaction, the dialogue opened my mind, my heart, my eyes, and therefore I did a quick poll on Facebook to ask, you know, if you were to write a letter to COVID, what would you say, you know, or if, yeah. So that was quite interesting, getting different feedback, and then finally coming up with these 6 letters to capture this time that, you know, we are going through.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Cole?
Yeah, for me, I think it came from the conversation that we have, and I observed several online presentation or discussion that the frame, what we see, and I'm curious what I couldn't see. So that Amol suggests that maybe I should do this subject, and I found very fascinating. And also, I since last year lockdown, so I discovered iPad. So I started to work with iPad with many apps, including editing video and do photo collage on the video, animations and all the stuff. Maybe I could combine, and as a theater person, maybe I can write some monologue for that
So it just like combine many things that I have learned, and during the discussions, I try to bring into the work. So lucky me to have Anmol give me some idea. Yeah.
Thank you, Ko. Regina?
Yeah. Unlike the other four people, they are mainly related to theater, and I work with craft a lot, research and curating craft. And so actually during the process, there's one issue that has been bothering me is the losing of materiality in our daily interaction. Like everything is going online now, and it's not only theater people disappearing from the theater, but a lot of objects, a lot of materials are disappearing from our daily life. And so, but there's something, it keeps growing since the very beginning of COVID, that is the mask. So I noticed that, and also from my own circle of acquaintances, I noticed that artists and craft people around the world, they start to do something with mask, which is not the daily medical mask we wear every day. They try to use it as a medium to express themselves. So I started collecting them. Actually, right now, I've already had like thousands of pictures of different kind of masks in my collection. And so when we start discussing to come up with ideas for the mini project, so I was thinking to do something with the mask. But then I'm more a research-based person. So at the beginning, I was like, thinking up of something like a very scientific, or like that kind of way of presenting my mask. And then when we I think this is related to the second question in the chat room, that the inspiration and the impact from the other people in the team to me. I think this is a major impact from other theater people. I see their project, and I see how they use their creative ideas to think of something like crazy, like how cope, dramatize the situation. That is the daily situation, but how she dramatizes, and how Jeffrey play with the later idea. And so that is something pushes me to like open up a space between so-called fact and imagination, and that space, it's a space for you to say a lot of things, a lot more things than just merely fact. So that's why my exhibition, from a fact-based exhibition, becomes a imagined exhibition stage in 1,000 years later. So basically, that's how it came about.
Thank you,
Regina. There's a question.
Anmol had something really quickly to say.
Yeah, very quickly, just some clarifications. The idea of doing these projects and focusing on any one question that we had asked ourselves during our various meetings actually came from Regina. Regina is the one who proposed this idea, and I said it is a great idea, and we took it forward. I didn't come up with that idea, okay? And the other thing I wanted to say was, Coke may have forgotten that, in fact, her project came out of asking ourselves the question about how have our relationships changed? So the question we asked. And Coke very interestingly said, talked about how a relationship has changed because everything is happening online. And that's when she said, I got interested in what people show and what people hide, because I can't see it all, and I'm curious about what they don't show. And that's how her project evolved. Thank you.
Thank you, Anmol. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, so we'll just take up one more question from Sulin. What did you learn from each other across cultures, practice, and places and during this time? And how will this impact your practice going forward? Big question. Really love it. Maybe we'll give it to Regina first, since you have. If you don't
I
mind.
think I've already answered that. Sorry, I'm just typing some answer to the questions.
It's fine.
Yeah, I can say it now. Because sorry, but it's related to another question. Someone is asking, is there any online gallery for like a mask? I'm just replying. There's a Facebook group. It's called Breathe, that you can check. It's a collection of a lot of artists and artisans mask creation online. They share to each other and how why, and also their statements about why they shared it. And I think they are actually staging several exhibition tours in North America right now. So probably there will be something we can look forward to in the future.
Thank you, Regina. Ko, would you like to answer? You're muted, Ko, sorry. Yep.
I found that all of us are in the same place because of COVID. So that brought that together. And it's cross-cultural. The pandemic is cross-cultural. And that's how we discover many similarities as an artist who capture in our own house, how we struggle, cross-cultural struggle together. So yeah, that's very interesting, and that we try to find a way to support each other spiritually, emotionally, not physically, of course. And I think I found that online communication, perhaps only way also, although they have like different channels, like could be Zoom, could be what MS or something, many channel, right? But I think MCH also trying to discover several channels for us to discuss, to talk, to share materials. But at the end, we found out that maybe just Zoom is the way of privacy issues and all the stuff. And I think we kind of discover along the way too. It's kind of learning process of supporting each other and to find the better way to communicate. So I think we're still searching and learning that how our culture works, cross-cultural work.
Thank you, Ko. Thank you. Jeffrey?
I think I've answered some of that questions earlier. Yeah, Sulin? Yes, no? Yeah, but I guess to summarize, I guess not being afraid to look at one issue or one thing and really going deep is something that I've learned from this process. I think in our capitalist life, right, we are constantly running from one project to another. Right? Even before this project finished, we are thinking of the next project. But I think one of the big things about this curated conversation is we were very focused for 6 months, really looking deep. And that's what I really appreciated about this whole experience, right? And I think the excitement of connecting regionally is something that I've always had this desire, but never had the opportunity, to connect with our nearby neighbors. So that's, I think, something that I hope the organizers will continue, and not say, okay, you're finished, you're the first batch, goodbye. Let's go on to the next batch. So I hope that the network that we've built will continue. The support, I think really the emotional support, the culture of care that we don't talk about as artists, right? We are also fixated with ideas, with right, that we forget that we are also humans, and we need that culture of care. We need that culture of support, right? Artistically, intellectually, emotionally. And I think one last thing I wanted to say, which I have totally forgotten now, but I'm sure it will come back to me. What was that last thing? Oh, yes, the generosity of heart. Because I think that's something that I discovered, with COVID, surprisingly, people are very not afraid to be generous, right? In other ways, in our daily lives, people won't make time for us. I'll probably have to write 10 emails to Amol to get an audience with them, right? But he was so generous. He didn't give up on us, right? I'm sure there were some moments that might be quite frustrating, right? But I think we worked, and I think we were generous in our different ways, and I think that was something that was very special. At least I can say in my team. Yeah.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Yeah, I think everyone has said it really well. I don't really have much to add. I just really echo everything, and just want to say thank you to everyone for being so dedicated, including Anmol, of course, and Jennifer for being there.
And Sumitra.
And Sumitra as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So yes, I think that's it from us. I'll just hand it to Anmol to close the session. Thank you.
Thanks, Arif. The thing about why I'd really like to thank the Mekong Cultural Hub, and it's been said in different ways, is that there's something unique about these curated conferences because it's an iterative process. You come at the same question again and again. You go deeper into it. You come at it from a different angle. And that's how we were growing along with everyone else who was involved. A special thank you to Jennifer for hand-holding our many online meetings. She was very patient, always in good humor, and extremely resourceful. And finally, I must thank the 4 artists with whom I worked. I mean, Jeffrey has said it all, but as you saw in the 4 projects, they're a very talented bunch. No? But as he said, they're very generous people. We've all been very generous to each other. We've supported each other in various ways for the projects. We've helped to overcome many crises that we faced along the way. And I was really very moved watching them at work. So thank you, COVID. Stay safe, stay well, stay strong, stay sane, and keep talking to each other. Goodbye.